Dear students, and welcome back. Today we are dealing with the last chapter of your textbook, and this is a short story called The Inspector of Schools. It's written by Mr. Athar Tahir, who is a Pakistani author. He's most prominently a short story writer, but also a literary and art critic, a scholar, a translator, and an academic. This is a picture of him. And the story is a simple story. You can read it on your own and you would have understood it, but it has a nice message. And given that we are in a situation like this where we are forced to conduct classes online, I think the story becomes very relevant, because what we have today is a setup. It's a school in a village. We're not told which village this is in, but we're trying to see what are the conditions of the classroom, and what is the state of education in that village. Okay, so of course it is set in an Asian time. It's not so much modern story. We're not told again what is the year or even the name of the village, but it has a very Indian setup. It could have been Pakistan as well, but it's very familiar, the setting and the people. Okay, so what we need to remember is the story is about a village. So something that happens in a village, and what we have is an inspector of schools. So I'm sure when you were in school as well, your teachers used to tell you that, on so and so day, please come early and come neatly dressed up, because we're going to have a school inspection. And the inspector may come, he may check your notebooks, he may ask you questions, and you should be able to answer it. So I'm sure we all are familiar with that experience in school. So what we have in this chapter is something similar. There is an inspector of schools who has come to inspect this particular school in this village. And what is it that he finds out about the school is the story, basically. Okay, so let's begin. We are told, the inspector inquired of a villager carrying his plough to a carpenter's shed down the street about the school. There's a school here, somewhere. I think outside the village. He pointed a chapped finger with cuts full of dust to the lane leading away from the village. Okay, so the inspector has reached the village, but he does not know where exactly the school is, because he has not been to this school before. Okay, but now he is under instruction to go and inspect the school, so he's got to go and fulfill his duty. So he's asking a certain villager about where the school is, but we are told that the villager is not sure himself. He says, there's a school here somewhere. Okay, and he says, I think outside the village. Okay, so you can make out that there is no interest, you can say, about schooling, because we are talking about a time when education was not given the kind of importance that it is given today. Okay, so we are talking about a time when the society was pretty much agrarian. Most people were farmers. Okay, so they did not even want to change it. They wanted to remain in the same trade. Okay, so nobody bothered much about education. So he also says, there is a school, but I don't know where exactly. So he points out his finger, chapped finger. Since he's a farmer, he does a lot of work with his hands, a lot of hard labor with his hands. His hands are not as delicate anymore. They are cracked, they're rough, they're full of mud. So you can imagine a farmer's hand, right? And he just points it to where he thinks the school must be. Now, the streets, bumpy, muddy, where the water from the flanking mud houses had trickled out, and dusty elsewhere, suddenly ended with the field started. Okay, so the inspector is traveling, and he has most probably a vehicle with him. But there are no proper roads in that village. So there are paths, but they're bumpy. By bumpy, what we mean is that it is not flat. It's got a lot of holes in it, so it's not a nice road. It's more like a kacha road that is there. Okay, and it's muddy because of all the dust in that place, and because it's not a normal road. Where the water from the flanking mud houses. So flanking mud houses simply means that there are mud houses next to each other. There are many mud houses, but all very close to each other. Okay, had trickled out. it is muddy where the water from the flanking mud houses had trickled out. So water from the houses had come onto the streets, onto that road, that rough road, and it was a little muddy there. Okay, and dusty elsewhere. So where it was not wet and muddy, it was dusty. Okay, so it's a very unpleasant walk or a ride into the village. Okay, and the road is not even clear, so suddenly the road ends where the field started. So the road was there and then suddenly the field starts. So as you are going towards that direction, you have got to stop because you can't go further because the fields are there. So whatever vehicle you've come with, you've got to stop the vehicle right there, and the rest of the journey needs to be taken on foot. Okay, so he began walking down the damp track between two fields. So he starts walking. In a distance, he saw a cyclist coming his way. The cyclist stopped as the inspector of schools neared, got off his bicycle, and respectfully stood aside. So, strangely enough, he sees a cyclist, and this cyclist, he doesn't really know this inspector of schools, but he can make out that this man, this inspector of schools, probably because of the way he was dressed up, he knows that this man is not from the village. And he knows that this man is also not a farmer. He's some outsider, and because of the way he's dressed up, he's probably educated. So he notices it, and therefore he himself gets off the cycle. The inspector does not ask him anything. So he gets off from the cycle, and he respectfully stood aside. So very quietly he stood aside, and he's watching as the inspector makes his way in the direction of that village. Where is the school? So that man who was on the cycle, he himself asked the question. So he understood, okay, this man has come regarding the school itself. Okay, because why else will he come to our village otherwise? What business does he have? So he has definitely come regarding the school. So he says, do you want to know about the school? Where is the school? Is that what you want to ask me? And the inspector says, yes, that's it. I really want to know where the school is. Please tell me which side to go. So he says, you see that Shisham? He said, pointing to a large tree several fields away. It's under that. Okay, so there's a big shisham tree. I just have a picture of a shisham tree so that you can have an idea. Yes, I'm not familiar if you've seen a shisham tree before, but it's something like leaves like this. You may have seen, but it's a huge tree, as you can see here. And the cyclist tells the inspector of school that the school is under a shisham tree. So somewhere beyond there is a small school, so go and find it there. Okay, so then so it's under that, right? Could you come along and show me? So the inspector is still not sure because he's visiting this village for the first time, and he's not he is not confident of finding the place himself. So he tells the villager, can you come and show it to me? So the villager was only too happy to help a city babu, and he agreed readily. A city babu, babu is a nice term. It's used in English, Indian English literature. It simply means an educated person. An educated Indian is what you will call a babu. Okay, so a city babu, and of course this babu is from the city because he's not from this particular village. So he's a modern man, a modern and educated man. And as a villager, he's very happy that he gets a chance to help this modern and educated man, because obviously he respects him. The villager respects this city babu. So we are told, it's explained a little further, so let's read that. The villager, only too happy to help a city babu, agreed readily. If the students and master or a passing peasant is a farmer, want to see him with the babu, his importance would surely increase in the village. His breast swelled at the thought. They walked together. Okay, so this is the reason why he was so happy to help the inspector, because he knew that his own importance in the village will increase. Why? Because he was smart enough to help an educated man find his way around the village. Okay, so it's a very small, simple, humble, but uneducated village, and most of them are farmers, and but at the same time they have regard, they have respect for education and educated people, although they themselves are not eagerly interested in it. Maybe they don't want their children also to go ahead with it, but at the same time they don't disrespect it. They show enough of respect for it. That is the situation. Okay, so anyway, he takes the inspector and they walk together. His breast swelled at the thought, means he was proud of the fact that if anybody sees him with this inspector, they will they will say that this guy is so lucky, this villager is so lucky that he got a chance to help this inspector. Okay, so then anyways, he's trying to make small talk because they are walking together, so they can't walk in silence. So he simply says, very good man, Sabji, the master, works very hard. Okay, so the villager, the cyclist, he's telling the inspector of schools that the teacher, the Sabji is the teacher, the schoolmaster, he is a very good man. He is very hardworking. Okay. And of course, the cyclist does not know that this man is actually the inspector of schools. He just knows that this is an educated person who has come with some business related to the village school. But he does not know, because obviously he is uneducated. He does not know what is an inspector and everything. Okay. But he simply offers his commentary. Anyway, so the inspector of schools did not reply. Why would he reply, right? This chasing schools across the district was becoming a bit of a drain. In filthy towns, in reeking localities, in remote villages where his jeep could not go. Okay, so now this paragraph is a little bit of a background into the life of the school inspector. What kind of a life did he have? What did his job entail or include? Okay, so we are told that his job basically was to go and inspect schools and to see whether there is proper textbooks, whether there's proper learning going on, whether the teachers are good, whether the students can respond clearly or not, whether there are proper benches, whether there are writing boards, whether there's chalk, whether there's proper ventilation. All these small things he's supposed to take care of, and accordingly he has to prepare a report and give it to the higher authority. That is his job as a school inspector. Okay, so now we are told what was he doing. Okay, was he happy with the kind of job that he had to do or not? So it says here, this chasing schools across the district, because usually school inspectors are appointed per district. So suppose Sangye Taluka, there will be school inspectors only for that taluka. Okay, or if it is Mormugaon, then we have school inspectors only for that taluka again. Okay, so in that way, in this case it is a district. Okay, so I'm talking about Goa. In Goa, it is according to the taluka, but in some places it's also according to your district. Okay, so in that district which he was in charge of, it was becoming a bit of a drain. It was becoming very tiring and exhausting for him. The whole business of a school inspector, the job of a school inspector. Why? In filthy towns and reeking villages, filthy means dirty, reeking localities. Reeking localities means stinking, smelling localities. In remote villages are where there's no proper road, there's no proper development going on. It's a very remote village, very little development done. So in remote villages where his jeep couldn't go, he had to go to places like that in order to carry out his school inspection. Okay, so very tiresome job. He had never thought of it, that it will be such a filthy business. Okay, but it is the case. Okay, so towns that are there which are developed, they are filthy, they are dirty. And other localities, other surroundings, there are schools, but there's a lot of stink in that place. So how can students really study? But yet there is a school there. And then there are some schools in remote villages where there are no proper roads, so his jeep could not even go there. For example, the village that he has come to right now is pretty remote. Therefore, that road stops and now he has to walk. And he has to walk and find the school. Okay, so he was quite upset with this. And the miserable state they were in. So it was not just the position of the school, the state of the school itself was miserable. It was very bad, very poor condition. Also depressing. He should have gotten used to it after 3 years. But no, every school still hurt. So as a school inspector, you can tell that he was someone who really cared about education and providing quality to the students as well as to the teachers. Okay, but he has spent 3 years now as a school inspector, and the whole business is very depressing. He does not like it at all. and he has not even gotten used to it. He still visits schools and he's upset with the kind of level and the kind of infrastructure that is provided there, that it is so bad, so poor. Then how can the country improve? Okay, the lack of supplies, the disinterestedness of the people, the easygoing students, the sponging masters, it was all too much. Okay, so the lack of supplies, we're talking about infrastructure. It could have been the textbooks, or it could have been the benches, it could have been maybe no fans, no writing board, anything. But lack of it, there's no proper infrastructure available for the students. The disinterestedness of the people could mean the people of the village. Okay, maybe a few of them are committed to education, but the rest of them are not bothered at all. Even when we started with this story, you see that the villager, the first villager that meets the inspector, he doesn't even know where the school is. Okay, so he's not interested. They're not interested in the idea of education, although it can change people's lives. Okay, the easygoing students, the students also who have enrolled themselves for the course and to the school, they are not too keen on it. They are not very serious with their studies. They are very easygoing, taking it very casually, taking it like it's fun. The sponging masters are teachers who are employed there, but they are there only for the money. They're not there to really educate these children. Okay, so he sees all of that and is upset at the poor quality of education in his district and also in the country. Okay, it was all too much. What could he do? And usually it is understood that the inspector of school can do a lot, because he can write a report and that can go up to the higher authorities and something can be done about that school or about that particular teacher. Some improvement can be done. Okay, but he has seen that that is not the reality. In reality, he is only a puppet. He cannot do much. Why? Because we are told, what could he do? Recommend and recommend. And every recommendation was shot down by the planning and development department, which planned little and developed less. Okay, so this is the problem. He goes to the schools, he carries out a good inspection, he writes a nice report and gives recommendations. What are recommendations? They're suggestions. How can the situation be improved? That is his job. But he sends those recommendations and that report, and what gets done is that they get ignored. It gets rejected. It was shot down by the planning and development department. So this department was responsible for improving the quality of education. But every suggestion that he puts forward for the improvement gets neglected and rejected. Okay, so what is the point? He feels like it's of no use, yet he needs to continue going to schools and continue writing those reports and giving those recommendations. So he's fed up. He's like, I'm doing my work well, but there's nothing improving. Look at the students here, look at the people, look at the teachers. What is this? For the heck of it, just namesake education, but there's nothing serious going on here. There's nothing which is worthwhile. And he hates the job. He hates that this is how bad the situation really is. Then we are told they passed plowed fields and fields green with young wheat. Okay, so plowed fields, they're keeping it ready for seeding, and there were other fields where it was, the field was already full of young wheat. So wheat was already growing in that field. So there are different fields here. Okay, at one place the area was depressed and water had gathered there, forming a small still pool with insects flying and afloat on the surface. So as they're walking, they find a ground which had like a depressed part there. Depressed part means it was a little low. Okay, there's like a small hole in there, and in that hole there is water. Okay, and in that water there are, or rather on top of that water, there are insects that are roaming around, and that is what they see. They rose in a buzzing mass as they approached it. Okay, so they rose in a buzzing mass. They're talking about the insects. They came together and like a big buzz, they come towards the inspector as well as the cyclists that are walking that side. The inspector of schools waved them from his face, so he brushes the insects off his face. The peasant's strides were long and swift. Okay, now we focus a little bit on the peasant, the farmer that was on the cycle. Okay, So because he is walking with the inspector of schools. So his strides were long and swift. We're talking about the steps that he's taking, as he's walking. How does he walk? Does he walk slowly? No, he walks really fast and he takes big steps. And swift means fast. Okay, so long and swift. The loose bicycle bell jangled madly along. Okay, so his bicycle bell is there, and that keeps shaking as they're walking, and he's walking quite fast, right? So it keeps shaking as they're walking towards the school. His colorless footwear was patched at several places, and the stitching at the heel had come apart. So he's wearing shoes or sandals which are not new anymore, and they're in such a bad situation that they've been stitched multiple times. Okay, and there are patches. There's patchwork on it in several different places, and the stitching at the heels, okay, has also come apart. Okay, so you can understand the level of poverty. He cannot afford to buy new shoes. Therefore, he continues wearing the same thing and continues repairing it because he probably has just this one pair. Okay, so understand that as well. What is the economic background of the people in that village? It was difficult keeping up with him, but despite the fact that his sandals were not in proper condition, he walks very fast with long strides. Okay, and the inspector finds it very difficult to keep up with him, to continue in the same speed. Okay, so as they continue walking, we're told they crossed a field of corn in ear, and beyond it was the shisham. So there's another field. This field is not of wheat, this field is of corn, and corn in ear means you can have a look at this picture that I have. Yes, corn in ear is something like this. So this is corn in ear means it's fully covered. This is what it really looks like. So it's almost ready to be harvested. Okay, so they crossed it, and after this field was the shisham tree. That means the school was somewhere close by, so they have almost arrived at the destination. So they find the tree. We are told that it was a shady tree at the edge of the field, now plowed and ready for seeding. There was nothing there. The peasant was disappointed. Now they had just received in fact it was the same peasant, the same man who was on the cycle, who had told the inspector that the school is under the shisham tree. But now that they've reached here, both of them have reached, thankfully, they realize that there is no school there. Okay, so he says, it was here, I'm sure, at least before the plowing. And the inspector says, so it might have shifted elsewhere. So the cyclist, the peasant who was on the cycle, he says, they must have shifted it. And the inspector is a little confused. He says, but the building, so how can you shift a building? He's quite confused about what is going on here. You said it's under the shisham tree. We've come here, I can see no building. Okay, now you're telling me that they've shifted it. So what about the building? The building at least should have been there, right? You can shift the school, but where is the old building here? Okay, so then he says, that is the peasant, he says building. And then the school inspector says, isn't there a building, a school building? And then the villager says, no sahab, no building. The master carries the school with him. Where he goes, the school goes. As they stood wondering what to do, the peasant spotted a man with a horse several fields away. Now, it becomes very clear here that, and much to the surprise of the school inspector also, that there is no school building in this village. Although, according to their reports, there is a school in this village. Okay, so the question is, at least in the other places there was a school building, but in this particular village there's not even a building. So imagine how bad the situation must be, and imagine how the teacher must be really teaching the students. What must be the quality of their education? That is what he's thinking about. Okay, but it's not yet told to us. We still have to go further and see what is the condition of the school. What we are told is, this is what the villager tells us. The master carries the school with him. That means they don't have a fixed, spot where they can conduct their classes. Wherever the master goes, there the school goes. So wherever they get place, the master will go there, they will sit there. So that's the reason why the people of the village are not sure where the school really is. And they don't keep track of it because they're not interested either. Okay, so if it's under shisham tree one day, there is no possibility or there is no surety that the next day is going to be the same place. Maybe the next day is going to be under the mango tree, wherever they get a place. That is how they continue with this. Okay, then we're told, as they stood wondering what to do, the peasants spotted a man with a hoe several fields away. So a hoe is, in Konkani you will say hare. That's something like this. So they see a man nearby in one of the fields, and he has a hoe with him. Okay, so they try to ask him. So the villager that was with the inspector, he says, "Oi, media!" He shouted to him. The bent figure stopped hoeing and straightened. The sun was in his eyes. He shaded them and looked. Media, where's the school? Saab from the city has come to see it. Okay, so these are friendly villagers. So he's asking the other person, where is the school? Because he himself is not aware of it. School, the boys are near the sugarcane field. At least I saw them going that way in the morning, he yelled back. This seems like the latest information, because this man, that is media, he saw the students going that very morning. Okay, so this information is most probably correct. So that means the school is somewhere next to the sugarcane field. Okay, and of course we are talking about boys, because if education is such a new concept, then educating girls is out of the question. They start with educating boys, right? So in this place as well, the students are all boys. Then we are told he rested on his hoe and began to pick his teeth as he watched the two make their way to the field. So some sort of entertainment for him as he sees this school inspector trying to find the school. So he just stops from his work for some time, and he just takes some maybe like a toothpick, and he tries to clean his teeth. Okay. The sugarcane field was thick and rich. Thin stems of the plants with grey, green and maroon patches were topped by a mass of deep green rustling in the breeze. On the other side, there were more fields, ploughed and ready. They looked around. There was nothing there. He did say the sugarcane fields. The peasant was puzzled. Yes, this was becoming tedious. Perhaps it is on the other side. That is what the other villager says. Then the school inspector says, listen, you go and look. When you find it, let me know. The inspector of schools said, mopping his brow. So now they reach the sugarcane fields, and they realize that that place is also empty because the students are not around. Okay, so where else to go? Because this is almost like the second or the third spot that they've reached, and they don't find the students at all. So such a big village, where exactly to find them? And they don't seem like a big group of people because they move so easily, right? So he says, since nobody is aware, the inspector tells this man, this villager who had helped him, you please go and find out where the school is, and then you come and tell me, because I'm tired, I cannot keep walking everywhere just to find that there's no school there. So, and mopping his brow, he's sweating. Okay, so he just takes off the sweat from his eyebrows, and he just stops for some time, and he tells him, you go, this is becoming too much for me, too tiring. Okay. We will continue in the next class, and we'll see what happens when the inspector finally meets the students as well as the teacher.